Hey everyone, welcome back. Let me ask you something. What if I told you that the easiest, most convenient spot on the ice is actually the hardest place to catch a fish? You see that field of old, drilled-out holes from last weekend? Most fishermen see that and think, I'm perfect, the work's already done. But today, I'm going to show you why that line of thinking is a massive trap. We're going to expose the truth about old ice holes and reveal why your willingness to drill fresh ice is the single biggest factor between a full bucket and going home empty. Stick around because what you learn today might just be the reason your fishing trips completely turn around. So let me know right now in the comments, are you a new hole driller or an old hole hunter? Be honest. For generations there's been this unwritten rule. You get out on the ice, and if you see a spot that looks like it's been fished recently, you assume there must be fish there. It makes a certain kind of sense. It saves your back, it saves your auger blades, and it saves your battery. It's the path of least resistance. We assume the previous angler was on a hot bite, and we can just swoop in and clean up what they left behind. This belief is so ingrained that entire communities of anglers will form around a specific cluster of holes, each person reinforcing the other's belief that this must be the spot. But this is a classic case of following the herd, not the fish. We're basing our entire strategy on the ghost of another fisherman without knowing if they were successful, why they left, or if the fish were ever even there to begin with. Let's start with the most obvious reason we're drawn to old holes. It is pure, simple convenience. You've just hauled a heavy sled across a frozen lake, maybe through snow. Your energy is a resource. Firing up that auger and punching 10 to 20 new holes through thick ice is work. There's no denying it. So when your eyes scan the horizon and land on a pre-drilled spot, your brain immediately calculates the energy saved. It feels like a shortcut, a freebie. It's the same reason we take the elevator instead of the stairs. This psychological pull is incredibly strong, especially for beginners who might be less confident in their ability to find a new spot from scratch. They see an old hole as a clue, a signpost left by someone more experienced. But in fishing, the easy way is almost never the best way. Now think about the story of that first fisherman. Why was he there? Let's give him the benefit of the doubt and say he was onto a massive school of perch. He drilled his holes, caught his limit in an hour, and went home happy. When you arrive the next day, you're not fishing that same scenario. The most aggressive, easy-to-catch fish in that school are already in his freezer. What's left is the smaller, more cautious fish that have just witnessed a full-scale assault from above. They saw their buddies getting yanked into another dimension. They are not in the mood to eat. You are essentially arriving at a crime scene after the main event is over, trying to catch the spooked survivors. You're fishing his leftovers, and that's a tough game to win. Here's a simple truth about fish that we often forget on the ice. Fish move a lot. The weed bed that held a school of crappie yesterday morning might be completely empty today because the bait fish they were feeding on moved. A current shift, a change in barometric pressure, or just the natural daily migration patterns can pull an entire population of fish from one spot to another 50 yards away. That old hole is a static marker of where fish were. It's a snapshot in time. Relying on it is like trying to find a deer by looking for yesterday's tracks in the snow. You're always a step behind. The truly successful anglers know this. They hunt for where the fish are now. Let's talk about pressure. An old hole is a beacon of fishing pressure. Imagine you're a walleye just chilling near the bottom. For the past 2 days, a parade of jigs, spoons, and minnows have been dropped on your head through that one hole in the ceiling. You've heard the thumping of gear, the scraping of boots, and the unnatural sound of the auger. You would be on high alert. The fish that remain in that area are the most educated, wary, and difficult to catch fish in the entire lake. They've seen it all. By choosing to fish that old hole, you are intentionally targeting the most difficult fish. It's like trying to sell a steak to a vegetarian. They're just not buying what you're selling, no matter how good it looks. Sound travels incredibly well underwater, especially the sharp, unnatural sounds we make on the ice. The original angler who drilled that hole sent a massive shockwave of sound down into the water column. Every footstep, every dropped piece of equipment, every scrape of the sled creates a vibration that fish can feel and hear. It puts them on edge. So when you show up, the fish in that immediate vicinity are already in a state of alert. They're pre-spooked. You are starting your day with a massive disadvantage. It's like trying to sneak up on a deer after someone else has already walked through the woods blowing a trumpet. The element of surprise is completely gone, and that's one of your most powerful tools. Consider what the bottom of the lake looks like under a heavily fished old hole. It's probably a bait graveyard. There are likely dead or dying minnows, clumps of waxworms that were dropped, and other bits of discarded bait. This can actually have a negative effect. Instead of attracting fish, it can create an area of rotting, unappetizing mess. Furthermore, if the fish have been feeding there, they may be full, or they may have learned to associate the scent of that bait with danger. Presenting your fresh, lively bait in the middle of a junk pile isn't the best strategy. You want your offering to be the main event, not another piece of trash on a dirty plate. The most dangerous thing about an old hole is that it gives you false information. You look at it and you build a story in your head. Someone was catching fish here, but you have no idea why that angler left. Maybe he was there for 3 hours and didn't get a single bite. Maybe he marked a few fish on his flasher that wouldn't commit, so he moved on. Maybe he just had to leave early to go to his kid's hockey game. You are placing all your faith in a complete unknown. You are literally fishing on pure, blind faith. It's a gamble, and the odds are stacked against you from the very beginning. Real strategy is based on knowledge, not guesswork. So, if the old hole is a trap, what's the solution? It's simple, but it requires a mental shift. The solution is to fall in love with your auger. Start seeing it not as a chore, but as your primary fish-finding tool. The alternative to fishing old spots is to become an explorer. It's about creating your own opportunities instead of feeding on someone else's scraps. It means accepting that you're going to drill holes that have no fish. And that's okay. Every hole you drill gives you a piece of information about the bottom composition, the depth, and the presence of fish. It's a process of elimination that leads you to the jackpot. There's a magical power to fresh ice. When you drill a brand new hole in a spot that hasn't been disturbed, you are the very first person to present a bait to that group of fish. They haven't been educated, they haven't been spooked by sound, and they haven't seen a dozen different lures that day. Your offering is novel and exciting. The fish are more likely to be aggressive and less suspicious. You get to present your bait on a clean slate. This is a massive advantage. You are setting the terms of the engagement rather than trying to overcome the negative history of a previously fished spot. That first drop down a fresh hole is your single best chance at hooking into the most aggressive fish in the school. Instead of reading other fishermen, you need to start reading the lake itself. A good angler doesn't follow the crowd, they follow the structure. Before you even get on the ice, you should be looking at a depth map of the lake. Where are the points, the inside turns, the sunken humps, the weed lines? These are the features that fish relate to. An old cluster of holes in the middle of a barren flat tells you nothing. But if you drill a line of new holes across a point, you can find the exact drop-off where the walleye are cruising. You're using logic and lake biology to find fish, which is infinitely more reliable than following a set of random holes. Let's paint a picture. It's a cold Saturday morning. Two anglers, Bob and Dave, walk out onto the lake. Bob sees the cluster of 50 old holes from last weekend's tournament and heads right for them. He re-drills one, sets up his shack, and starts jigging. Dave, however, looks at his map. He sees a long underwater point about 75 yards away from the crowd. He walks over there and drills 10 new holes, zigzagging from shallow to deep. For the first hour, Bob catches a couple of tiny perch. Meanwhile, Dave uses his flasher in each new hole and, on the 8th hole, finds a massive school of crappies suspended right on the edge of the drop-off. Who do you think is going to have a better day? If you use electronics like a flasher or a fish finder, fishing a new hole is even more critical. When you drop your transducer into a fresh hole, you get a true, unbiased reading of what's below. You can see if there are fish, where they are in the water column, and how they react to your lure. Now try doing that in an old, pressured hole. The fish, if they are even still there, are already on high alert. They are less likely to investigate your lure, and you might conclude there are no fish there, when in reality they're just too spooked to show up on your screen. A new hole gives your electronics the best possible chance to work effectively, giving you accurate, real-time information. Have you ever experienced the shy bite? This is when you're jigging and you feel these tiny, tentative taps, but you can never get a solid hook set. This is a classic sign of pressured fish. It often happens in and around community holes or heavily fished areas. The fish are curious about your bait, but they are too wary to commit to a full strike. They've been trained. Now, contrast that with the bite you get in a fresh spot. It's often a solid thump. The fish sees the bait and aggressively attacks it without hesitation. If you're constantly dealing with shy bites and missing fish, it's a huge red flag that you are fishing in a highly pressured area. The solution is to move and find uneducated fish. The most successful ice anglers I know all share one common trait. They have a nomad mentality. They do not sit in one spot all day waiting for the fish to come to them. They are constantly on the move, drilling, checking a hole for a few minutes, and then moving to the next one. They might drill 30, 40, or even 50 holes in a day. They are actively hunting for fish. Settling on an old hole is the complete opposite of this mindset. It's a passive, sedentary approach. To be a great ice fisherman, you have to be proactive. You have to be willing to burn some energy to cover water and find those active schools of fish. Embrace the mobility. Let's try a simple thought exercise. I want you to stop thinking like a fisherman and start thinking like a predator. A wolf doesn't return to the site of an old kill, hoping another rabbit will just show up. No, it uses its senses to actively track and locate a fresh meal. Your auger and your electronics are your senses. They allow you to hunt. Following old holes is not hunting, it's scavenging. It's hoping to get lucky on someone else's leftovers. To be a true predator on the ice, you need to be on the move, constantly searching and drilling new holes to find where your prey is hiding right now. That is the fundamental shift in mindset that separates the pros from the amateurs. Now you might be thinking, is there ever a time when an old hole is okay? And the answer is rarely, but yes. There are some exceptions. For example, if there is a very specific, well-known piece of structure, like a single sunken brush pile in an otherwise barren lake that always holds crappies. In this case, a cluster of old holes can tell you the precise location of that structure. However, even in this scenario, fishing directly in the old, re-drilled hole is still not your best bet. The fish on that pile have seen every lure in the book. There is a better way to approach even this specific situation. So you've found that community brush pile marked by a dozen old holes. Here's the pro move. Do not re-drill one of the existing holes. Instead, take your auger and drill a brand new hole 5 to 10 feet away from the main cluster. Or drill 4 new holes surrounding the old ones. This is called fishing the edge effect. You are targeting the fish that are holding just off the main structure, or the ones that are cruising the perimeter. These fish are often less pressured and more likely to bite. You are using the old holes as a map marker, but you are creating your own fresh attack angle. It's a small adjustment that can make a world of difference. Ultimately, the reliance on old holes is a psychological trap. It's a manifestation of what psychologists call confirmation bias. We want to believe it's a good spot, so we interpret the presence of old holes as evidence. But it's also, and let's just be brutally honest with ourselves, a little bit lazy. We convince ourselves that it's a smart or efficient strategy because it justifies taking the easy way out. Breaking this habit requires a conscious decision to value hard work and exploration over convenience. It's about admitting that there are no shortcuts to consistent success in fishing. The work you put in directly correlates to the results you get out. To truly break free from this trap, you need to have confidence in your gear. This all starts with a good, sharp auger. Whether it's gas, propane, or electric, having an auger that cuts through the ice like butter makes the idea of drilling 20 new holes seem a lot less daunting. If you're fighting with dull blades or a finicky engine, you're naturally going to want to drill as little as possible. Invest in a quality auger and keep it well maintained. A sharp set of blades is your ticket to freedom. It empowers you to become a mobile hunter, to leave the crowds behind, and to find your own untouched schools of fish. Don't be afraid to use it. That's what it's for. So here is the single most important takeaway from this entire video. Your auger is not a tool for simply making a hole to fish through. Your auger is your #1 fish-finding tool. Let me say that again. Your auger is your #1 fish-finding tool. Every new hole you drill is a data point. It tells you the depth. It tells you the bottom content. It lets you check for fish with your electronics. A line of freshly drilled holes is a map you create in real time. Stop seeing it as a burden and start seeing it as your secret weapon. The person who is willing to drill more holes will, over the long run, always outfish the person who sits on one spot all day. So there you have it. The simple, convenient old ice hole is not the shortcut to success we thought it was. It's a trap baited with convenience. The real aha moment, the big plot twist in all of this, is realizing that your auger isn't just for getting your line in the water, it's your primary tool for hunting. The act of drilling and moving is the strategy. By punching fresh ice, you're not just making a hole, you're gathering intel, avoiding pressured fish, and presenting your bait to an uneducated audience. This simple shift in perspective can fundamentally change your entire approach to ice fishing and will absolutely put more fish on the ice for you. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this busted a myth or two for you. If it did, do me a favor and hit that like button and make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss out on more tips that will make you a better angler. Now, I want to hear from you. What's the biggest ice fishing myth you've ever fallen for? Drop your story in the comments below. Let's talk about it.